Welcome, welcome everyone. I am Subhashish Chandra and I welcome you to our new series Cosmos. In this series, we are looking into the intricacies of the universe. In the last part, we had looked into the Sun. In today's part, we are going to look into the rocky neighbors of the Sun. The rocky neighbors are nothing but the terrestrial planets Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. All these planets have a metallic core at the center surrounded by a rocky mantle and crust. The first planet that we will look is Mercury, the nearest to the Sun. It is also called as Budh in India. Mercury is named after the Roman deity Mercury, who was the messenger of the gods. The radius of Mercury is about 2440 kilometers, making it the smallest planet in the solar system. Its mass is about 3.3 into 10 to the power of 23 kilograms. Its distance from the Sun at its nearest is about 46 million kilometers. The nearest distance to the Sun is called the perihelion. The aphelion, which is the farthest the planet is from the Sun, is 70 million kilometers. The distances are quite eccentric, and this results in a highly eccentric egg-shaped orbit of Mercury around the Sun. It takes about 88 Earth days to complete one revolution around the Sun in this highly eccentric egg-shaped orbit. This revolution constitutes the Mercury year. It rotates on its axis in about 59 Earth days. This rotation constitutes a day on the Mercury. It requires about 3.2 minutes for sunlight to reach the surface of Mercury. The surface is full of impact craters. Mercury has a thick iron core and a thin silicate outer shell. The temperature ranges are extreme on Mercury, with the maximum reaching up to 430 degrees Celsius and a minimum of minus 180 degrees Celsius. There is no atmosphere on Mercury, only a thin exosphere exists, which is composed mostly of oxygen, sodium, hydrogen, helium, and potassium. Its axial tilt is about 0.034 degrees with respect to the plane of orbit in which Mercury revolves around Sun. Due to this, Mercury is almost upright when it rotates. Because of this reason, Mercury has no seasons. Life is non-existent in Mercury. The next planet in our journey is Venus or Shukra. Venus is named after the Roman deity Venus, who is the goddess of love and beauty. The radius of Venus is about 6052 kilometers, making it the sixth largest planet in the solar system. Its mass is about 5 into 10 to the power of 24 kgs. This mass and the radius is almost comparable to our own Earth, and hence it's also called Earth's twin sister. As it is nearest to the Earth and has high reflectance, it is seen as a bright object in the morning and the evening sky. Our forefathers hence named it the morning or the evening star. At perihelion, it is at about 108 million kilometers, and at aphelion, it is about 109 million kilometers from the Sun. This gives it an almost symmetric circular orbit. It takes about 225 Earth days to revolve around the Sun and about 243 Earth days to rotate on its axis. This slow speed of rotation is due to its retrograde motion. Retrograde motion is the case when an object rotates in a direction opposite to the direction of revolution. All other planets rotate in an anti-clockwise way, whereas Venus and Uranus rotate in a clockwise direction. So, if you are on Venus, Sun will rise in the west. The time required for sunlight to reach the surface of Venus is 6 minutes. The surface is mostly mountainous and volcanic. The highest mountain on Venus is the volcanic Maxwell Montes, which is about 8.8 kilometer high. This is comparable to our own Mount Everest. It has a thick iron core and then a rocky mantle and a crust. The atmosphere in Venus doesn't allow much observations into its internal structure, and that is why Venus is the hazy one. The temperature in Venus rises up to 470 degrees Celsius because of the greenhouse effect of its atmosphere. This makes it the hottest planet in the solar system, even though it is farther away from Mercury. The atmosphere comprises of about 96.5% of carbon dioxide, 3.5% of nitrogen, and traces of other gases, mainly sulfur dioxide. A rain of sulfuric acid is quite common when you are on Venus. It has a 3-degree axial tilt, which results in no seasons for Venus. Life is non existent. Now we move on to our own, the Earth or Prithvi. Earth is not named after any Roman god or goddess as are the other planets. It is named after a Germanic word which simply means the ground. It has a radius of 6,378 kilometers at its equator and 6,357 kilometers at its poles, which makes it a spheroid and not a sphere. This is the fifth largest planet in the solar system, having a mass of 6 into 10 to the power of 24 kilograms. At perihelion, it is at 147 million kilometers, and at aphelion, it is at 152 million kilometers from Sun. This gives it an elliptic orbit around the Sun. Earth revolves around the Sun in 365.25 Earth days. This 0.25 Earth days results in the extra day in the month of February every leap year. It rotates on its axis in 23.93 hours, which constitutes our day. The sunlight requires 8 minutes and 20 seconds to reach the Earth's surface. The surface has land masses with plains, mountains, and volcanoes, and this is the only known planet to have water bodies. It has a 1200 km solid core of iron, 2300 km of molten iron and nickel outer core, surrounded by a 2900 km molten rocky mantle and a 30 km rocky crust. The crust at the oceans is thinner. The temperature ranges from about 57 degrees Celsius in the hottest deserts to minus 90 degrees Celsius in the icy regions. The atmosphere has multiple layers which are called troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, ionosphere. It is mainly composed of 78% of nitrogen, 21% of oxygen, and 1% of other gases. It has an axial tilt of 23.44 degrees with respect to the plane of orbit, which is the reason why Earth has seasons and the polar ice caps. It is the only planet known in the solar system which has life. Now we move on to our nearest companion, the celestial body, which is the satellite of us, which revolves around us, the moon. This is the near side of the moon, this is the side which is always visible from the Earth's surface. The moon and the Earth are both into a tidal lock, and hence you can only see the near side of the moon. The far side of the moon, which is this surface, is not visible from Earth. So let's look into the features of moon. Moon is named after an Old English word which again have its root in a Proto-Germanic and a Proto-Indo-European word which basically means the month. So it is not a surprise that all calendars have the months based on the movement of moon around the earth. The time period required for moon to revolve around the earth is basically the main basis to create a month on earth. Its equatorial diameter is 1738 km and its polar diameter is 1736 km. This makes it the fifth largest satellite in the solar system. It has a mass of about 7.35 into 10 to the power of 22 kilograms. At its nearest, it is at 0.36 million kilometer from the earth. Here we don't call it perihelion, which is for sun. For earth it is perigee, and at its apogee it's 0.41 million kilometer, giving it an elliptic orbit. It requires about 27.32 earth days to revolve around the earth. This is the sidereal period, and 29.53 earth days, this is the synodic period. Now sidereal period is basically the period which is required by the moon to complete one revolution. But as earth is also moving, so from one new moon to another new moon, the moon cannot complete it in 27.32 earth days but requires 2 days extra, and that is the synodic revolution of moon around earth. It requires about 27.32 earth days to rotate on its axis. You can see that its sidereal day, revolution and its rotation is exactly similar. This is the reason why we only see the near side of the moon and we don't see the far side of the moon. It has a surface of dead volcanoes, impact craters, and lava flows. It is mostly a surface which resembles the surface of Mercury. It has a small solid iron core, then a molten iron outer core, and a large rocky mantle and a small rocky crust. The temperature on moon ranges from 120 degrees Celsius to minus 170 degrees Celsius. No atmosphere is present on the moon, just a tenuous exosphere exists. The axis of rotation is about 6.68 degrees and life is non-existent. The moon looks bigger when it is at the perigee, resulting in a supermoon, and it looks smaller when it is at the apogee. This is because of the angular size of the moon as seen from the earth. This angular size of the moon creates a very interesting phenomenon called the solar eclipse. It is very interesting that the angular size of sun and angular size of moon as seen from earth is almost similar, and hence when the moon comes in between the sun and the earth, it can cast a shadow which will result for the invisibility of the sun for a small period of time. When moon eclipses the sun, or when you cannot see the sun because of the moon, this is called the solar eclipse. The second is the lunar eclipse, in which earth comes in between sun and moon and casts a shadow on it. The next interesting thing about moon is its phases. Lunar phases are caused by the position of the moon in relation to the sun. When we see a portion of the moon shadowed and invisible, it is not because of the earth's shadow, but because the dark portion of the moon is the half that is turned away from the sun. Half of the moon is always in shadow and half of it is always illuminated. But we perceive different phases based on the moon's position in relation to us. On a full moon night, the illuminated half of the moon is fully in front of us, and hence we see a complete illuminated disk. On a new moon night, the non-illuminated portion is in front of us, and hence we can't see the moon. The moon is said to be in a waxing phase when it moves from the new moon to the full moon, and it is said to be in a waning phase when it moves from the full moon to the new moon. No story of moon is possible without the introduction of these three fine young gentlemen: Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins, and Edwin Aldrin. They were the members of the Apollo 11 mission launched on July 16, 1969. This mission took the first human beings on the surface of the moon in this lunar module, the Eagle. They landed on the moon on July 20, 1969. This is Buzz Aldrin taking his moon walk. Neil Armstrong correctly summarized this extraordinary moment as, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." Incidentally, The Man on the Moon was the first book on space that I read as a child, and it actually hooked me onto this particular branch of science. India also has been a part of the moon missions, the Chandrayaan 1 and Chandrayaan 2. In near future, we are sure to test success in this field. The next planet is Mars or Mangal. This is the most probed planet in the entire solar system. India has also been there with its Mangalyaan. Mars is named after the Roman deity Mars, who was the god of the war. Its equatorial radius is about 3396 km and its polar radius is about 3376 km, making it the seventh largest planet in the solar system. Its mass is about 6.42 into 10 to the power of 23 kg, and it is at a distance of 207 million km at its perihelion and 249 million km at its aphelion. This gives it elliptically egg-shaped orbit. It takes about 687 Earth days to revolve around the Sun, which is almost twice that of Earth. The rotation is about of 24 hours 40 minutes, which is nearly equal to that of Earth. So if we go and start living on Mars, our day would almost remain the same, but our year will become twice the size that we have over here. The time required for sunlight to reach Mars is 13 minutes. The surface is dusty and chiefly red in color due to the iron oxide. It also has polar ice caps. This red iron oxide gives it the name of a red planet. Well, incidentally, Mars has the highest planetary mountain, the volcanic Olympic Mons, which is 22-kilometer high. It has a 1500 to 2100 kilometer core of iron, nickel, and sulfur, 770 to 1170 kilometer rocky mantle, and 10 to 50 kilometer of crust. The temperature ranges from about 20 degrees Celsius to minus 150 degrees Celsius. It has an atmosphere of 95% carbon dioxide, 2.7% nitrogen, and 1.6% argon, along with traces of oxygen and water. The axial tilt is about 25.19 degrees with respect to the plane of the orbit. Life is non existent, even though Martians have been the predominant alien species famous among all fiction writers. Mars has two satellites, the Phobos and the Deimos. Deimos is the smaller of the two. It was discovered on August 11, 1877 by Asaph Hall. It is of the size of about 15 into 12 into 11 kilometers and has a mass of about 2.4 into 10 to the power of 15 kilograms. It revolves around Mars in about 30 hours. Phobos is the bigger one and it was discovered on August 17, 1877. It is of the size of 27 into 22 into 11 kilometers and has a mass of about 10.6 into 10 to the power of 15 kilograms. It is very close to Mars and at times it is very difficult to spot it. It has a period of revolution of 7 hours and 40 minutes. Both of them are named after the mythological son of Ares, who is the Greek counterpart of the Roman god Mars. Phobos means fear or panic, and Deimos means dread. So we come to the end of this video. These are the four planets. As you can see, Earth and Venus are comparable in sizes. Mars is almost half the size of Earth and Mercury is quite small. In the next chapter, we will be looking into the four big planets All four are giants and they all have ring systems around them. So I thought that the name ring giants will be appropriate for them. Till then, stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you.